Ya estamos en vivo a través de nuestras diferentes plataformas, Facebook, YouTube y Rumble. Y les pedimos que nos regalen un like, que se suscriban a nuestros canales y que compartan esta transmisión y el contenido para ayudarnos a llegar a más familias. También te pedimos que interactúes con nosotros, que nos envíes tus comentarios, tus saludos y tus preguntas, y recordarte que este es un espacio informativo donde buscamos dialogar sobre los temas que estamos viviendo ahorita como sociedad y también promover valores bíblicos y principios constitucionales que nos ayuden al bienestar de nuestras familias y comunidades. Más allá de partidos políticos o ideologías, nuestro deseo es escuchar qué enseña la palabra de Dios y reflexionar cómo se ve ser sal y luz en medio de nuestra cultura. El día de hoy tenemos un programa muy especial. Nos acompaña John Hogg, él es candidato para la mesa de supervisores del Distrito 5 y estaremos conversando sobre algunos de los temas más importantes para los residentes del Valle Imperial: infraestructura, seguridad pública, desarrollo económico, agricultura y el futuro de nuestras comunidades. Y también abordaremos uno de los temas que más debate y polémica han generado recientemente en nuestro condado: la propuesta de un centro de datos o un data center y el impacto que podría tener en nuestra región. Nuestro propósito es brindar información para que usted pueda conocer mejor a quienes desean servir en nuestra comunidad y las propuestas que presentan para enfrentar los desafíos de nuestra región. John, muchas gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. Dios te bendiga. ¿Cómo está?
Bien. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Muy bien, gracias por estar en Infórmate, Familias del Valle Imperial. Y me gustaría que antes de que comencemos, quiero comenzar con una reflexión. En Éxodo 18, cuando el pueblo de Israel había crecido considerablemente, Jetro, suegro de Moisés, le aconsejó que delegara responsabilidades de liderazgo. Le dijo que escogiera a hombres para gobernar sobre 1000, sobre 100, sobre 50 y sobre 10. En otras palabras, iban a entrar en un tiempo de elecciones federales, estatales, de condado y locales. Pero más importante que la estructura del gobierno, las cualidades y características que estos tenían que tener, Jetro dijo a Moisés que buscara hombres capaces, hombres temerosos de Dios, amantes de la verdad y que aborrecieran la avaricia. En otras palabras, líderes de integridad, con carácter firme, honestos, incorruptibles y comprometidos con servir al pueblo antes que servirse a ellos mismos. Y con este estándar de lo que debería ser el gobierno y los que son elegidos para estar en autoridad, quiero que iniciemos. John, para los que aún no le conocen, ¿quién es John Hogg?
Okay, well, thank you, Lupita. Mi nombre es John Hawk. I've been in private business for over 40 years. So I bring to the county experience, years of planning, budgeting, projecting growth, and all of the assets necessary to lead our country forward, lead our county forward.
Muy bien. ¿Nos puedes hablar un poquito de tu familia, de las raíces? ¿Cuánto tiempo tienes aquí en el Valle Imperial?
I am third generation in Imperial County. My great-grandfather came here. My grandfather was also here for most of his life, and my father. So I am third generation. My sons are fourth generation. And I've been a Christian now for 40, almost 50 years.
¿Qué fue lo que te motivó a entrar al servicio público?
Well, first of all, I was very disappointed with how our government handled COVID. They made they stopped school, they kept people they asked people to stop church, but they could keep bars and strip clubs open. So that made me very frustrated. They told everybody they needed to get a jab that was very unfavorable to many. And I felt like we had the freedom to determine if we should get the shot or not. So I decided to run for run for supervisor, and that's when I started my campaign in 2022. So I think we need to stand for righteousness and what we feel is right. And since I've been in office, I feel that I've been able to change many of the rules that we felt were important that were going on in our county. I feel that there was actually some members of our leadership that were not doing right. That came to light, and we were able to replace those individuals. So when I was chairman last year, there were a number of people that changed their roles, were let go, and were replaced by people of good character.
¿Qué es lo que es Board of Supervisor? ¿Qué es lo que hace? ¿Qué es la autoridad que tienen? ¿Cómo funciona esta parte del gobierno?
So the Board of Supervisors are the elected officials to lead the county. We lead 28 different departments within the county, and that starts with the CEO's office. That starts with every department head in the county, from workforce development to public health. That goes to jobs, finding jobs in our county, our workforce development. That goes to our ag department, and it goes all the way down to public works, fixing roads, and things like that. So there's 28 departments, and we lead all 28. We hire a CEO that works for us and establishes what we'd like to see our county and the direction that our county should take.
Okay. Ahí quisiera, yo he estado en algunos de los debates de los foros donde usted ha estado, y algo que escucho que pareciera como que la gente escucha lo que quiere escuchar y entiende lo que quiere entender. Cuando hablamos de arreglar carreteras, mucha gente dice, bueno, hay muchas carreteras en Heber, la Walker fue una de las que se mencionaron, que son carreteras que necesitan ser arregladas, los puentes entre Heber o a los outlets entre Calexico y Heber. ¿Cómo funciona? Es fácil, digo, porque es una de las propuestas que usted está aportando en esta candidatura, pero la gente espera que usted entre al gobierno, entra al condado, y que inmediatamente esto es algo que es posible. ¿Cómo funciona lo de el dinero, la economía para arreglar las carreteras?
Okay, so obviously we have more roads than we can fix. We have 1,500 miles of pavement. We can fix, up until I was elected, we were fixing 15 to 20 miles a year. When I got elected, the first thing we did was we bought a machine that could lay asphalt. And that machine, when we run it correctly, can run up to 50 miles a year. And we run it at 25% of the cost of a contractor. So we've made very great progress in moving forward with fixing roads, but obviously that's slower than we want it to be. It's very expensive to lay asphalt. It costs a lot of money, and yet we're doing 2.5 times what we were doing before I was elected. So I think we're making great progress, but it's a job that is going to be very difficult to accomplish. So we try to fix the roads where they have the most traffic. We want to have 3 complete roads that go north and south, and 3 roads that go east and west. So we've worked with our sheriff's department. We've worked with the firefighters. We've worked with them and said, this is how you can get to a call, by following these roads and by fixing the artery roads, the most important roads.
Esto es un proceso. Otro de los argumentos que he escuchado en estos foros a los que he asistido es que la gente que se está postulando dice, el dinero está ahí, es nada más cuestión de agarrarlo. Es tan fácil como decir, el dinero está ahí, el primer día que yo esté en el condado, las calles al día siguiente ya se van a estar reparando. ¿Es tan fácil como decir, el dinero está ahí, es nada más lo tengo que reclamar? ¿O es un proceso?
Yes, it is a process. It is not easy to just run out and say you're going to fix roads. There has to be a plan. You've got to know where to go. But let me tell you what we've done in the last 2.5 years. We fixed roads like Highline Road. We fixed Snyder Road, parts of Jasper Road, Miller Road, parts of Rutherford, all over the valley, Hartshorn Road, Zenos Road, Highway 80. We fixed roads in Arizona, which, not Arizona, it's Bard, Winter Haven. We fixed Picacho Road, a number of roads over there that are not seen by many of the residents here. But it is a very difficult issue to say we're just going to go out and fix every road that's bad. There has to be a process. We have to go through an arduous process to order the asphalt and to get a crew, get the crews trained, and to get them moving. So it is going better than we thought, but it's obviously, can you ever catch up when you have 1,500 miles? It's very difficult. And we can do approximately 50 miles a year.
Creía que esta es una respuesta muy necesaria de aclarar, porque esto es de los argumentos que más escucho cuando estaba en los forums, donde los candidatos dicen, el dinero está ahí, yo lo voy, en cuanto llegue, voy a ir por él y voy a empezar al día siguiente. Es un proceso y muchas veces la gente no entendemos que se tiene que seguir esas leyes, hay regulaciones y es muy fácil prometer y decir y hacer promesas, pero la realidad es otra. John, muchas gracias por esa información. Era algo que yo quería, porque yo lo entendía, pero yo miraba la respuesta de la gente. Seleccionan qué es lo que quieren escuchar y cuando hay información que no está muy clara, hay mucha confusión. Entonces, muchas gracias por aclarar esto. Este es tu segundo año postulando por segunda ocasión. Quisiera preguntar si pudieras cambiar solo una cosa del gobierno del condado mañana mismo, ¿qué sería?
Okay. If I could change one thing about county government, what would it be? I would change the fact that we need to be much more efficient. Just like fixing roads. If you're fixing 15 miles a year, we need to be fixing 50 miles a year. We need to be working on areas that are high important and high traffic roads that are used by agriculture, by business, by our public safety. We need to have areas where there's the most traffic. So efficiency is one of the things that I would like to work on and change. When you get a permit in the county, it may take you 3 to 6 months to get a permit. In Arizona, a permit takes you 2 weeks to a month. So our permitting process is slow. That is due to many of the California laws that Arizona doesn't have. But I believe that if we did our permitting online, we could go much faster. We could be much more efficient with our contractors. And those are the things that I think we need to streamline. Streamline things within our county to say what is important to the average person and to the customer within Imperial County would be to say that, hey, I went in to get my taxes. I went in to get a document, and they were very kind. They treated me well, and they helped me get through my problem. Those are things that make us efficient and make our county function at a higher rate of efficiency.
No quisiera que nos pasáramos la número 7, creo que es algo muy importante para aquí, para los que nos están escuchando y nuestra comunidad, que es cuáles considera que son los 3 desafíos más importantes que enfrenta nuestro condado el día de hoy.
Obviously, it's very difficult. We've had a lot of challenges when we changed some of our leadership, when new people came in. They need to get on board. They need to find out exactly how to function in their new roles. But that has gone much smoother than I thought. It was a challenge, and we had a lot of the way we did things in the past, that's the way you do them. It's not always efficient. So when we've become more efficient, our leadership is understanding that now, the department heads are understanding that we want a degree of efficiency to get things done and not say, well, this is the way it's always been done. There's a new way. There's a better way. Online permitting, for example, works in many parts of the country, and we're moving in that direction right now. We're consolidating things in our general services department where we have one computer replacing 3 old ones. So we're getting a lot more efficient in ways like that, and we want to help the public see that our efficiency does take time, but we feel that it is happening. So we're excited about that.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Nos vamos a mover al número 3. Sería la pregunta número 11. ¿Cómo podemos atraer más empleos bien remunerados aquí en el Valle Imperial?
Well, for example, Lithium Valley in the north end of the valley, we've had companies in our county for 40 years that are extracting lithium, or not extracting, but they're geothermal wells. The new industry now is to extract the lithium out of the geothermal wells. But every time the companies have started, we've had lawsuits from environmental groups. We have a process called CEQA, and environmental groups have used CEQA to stop or to say, hey, we may have bad air. We may not have everything we need. So these companies cannot develop and invest in our county because of these environmental groups. So what would I like to see? I'd like to see well-paying jobs, but we have to relax some of those standards and allow these companies to build and invest in our country. Then our graduates would come in and find the good-paying jobs, and that would improve our economy in our valley. Instead of our young people moving away, they're going to stay here. They're going to buy homes. They're going to buy cars. They're going to build the economy right here in our county. And when our families stay here, it helps our families because they're here with us. And there's nothing greater than for grandparents to invest in their kids, help their kids get started, do things with their grandkids, go to the baseball games, the soccer matches, and be with their families, babysit when they need to, and give parents a break, but allow the economy and the community to grow together and be fruitful, because that's what we have. When we have families involved with our kids, with our communities, it makes stronger communities. We need to build the church up and encourage our children and our grandkids to come with us to church. Those are important things in building a community that works. And just the peer pressure of saying, hey, listen, grandma and grandpa are not going to be happy if you're out on the streets too late. We need to be there for our kids, encourage them, and give them the support that they need.
Ok. Entiendo que, por ejemplo, esto que usted está planteando no es algo que usted puede hacer. Se necesita, por eso la importancia de quienes están en autoridad, porque es por mayoría de votos. El condado depende de las leyes o regulaciones del estado y pues de toda la nación, ¿verdad? Porque, por ejemplo, ahorita que comentaba sobre los empleos y traer más negocios aquí, no depende de usted que haya más negocios por todas las reglas, las leyes, las regulaciones que ponen muchas restricciones para que negocios se establezcan aquí en el Valle Imperial. Pero aquí usted puede tener todas estas propuestas que son para beneficiarnos a la comunidad, a nuestras familias y a nuestros hijos, pero con una sola persona en la mesa directiva no es suficiente. Por eso la importancia de traer a gente que tengan la misma visión, que se interesen por la familia, que tengan los mismos principios y valores para todos caminar en una sola dirección. Vamos a entrar ahora a la sección 4, que es seguridad pública. ¿Cuál considera que es el mayor problema de seguridad pública en nuestro condado? Y aquí quisiera algo muy específico que sucedió la semana pasada en Calexico. Hubo muchas peleas en las escuelas y uno de lo que se comentó es que faltaba más policías, que no había seguridad suficiente por falta de dinero, de economía, por algo, pero que faltan muchos policías, más gente en la seguridad pública para estar al pendiente de todos estos problemas de seguridad.
Well, I would say that one of the biggest problems with the public safety is the fact that our kids have, we need to have better control of our kids. We need families to be stronger. When we turn our kids over to the public school systems and allow them to teach our kids and they kind of administer their justice, we need stronger families. When you have stronger families, the kids are going to behave better. When they have the direction from their mothers and fathers, if they're involved in a church, that makes a big difference for the kids that we see. We see many times public school kids that are in fights. So do we get more police? Do we get more people to come in and enforce things that are happening? Or do we change the hearts of the kids to want to obey their parents? Do we have parents that spend time with their kids and take the time necessary to say, listen, I'm going to discipline you. If you're in trouble in school, you're going to get disciplined at home. This is not right. We want to raise you in the right way and not just depend on police or outside forces to come in and control our kids. We need to take the time with our kids that we need to. And parents have a great responsibility. It's one thing if you have values at home and then your kids go to school and get different values. What happens when you have good values at home and you have good values in the public setting like school?
¿Cómo apoyará usted a nuestras agencias de seguridad, sheriff, bomberos y primeros respondedores?
Well, obviously, our county has limited funding. We need to support our sheriffs, our police departments, fire departments. So, unfortunately, we're doing a comp and classification study right now on how much they make, and we're finding that our sheriffs are underpaid somewhat, our firefighters are underpaid, and we're working to try to get a tax base where we can pay them more. We are putting, there are investors in our county. If we had investors, for example, we do have investors with a solar industry, and there are funds that come into the county where we can increase those wages. So yes, we do support our sheriffs and our firefighters, but it's not enough at this time. And right now, without the investment of people from outside building companies here, building businesses here, our tax base is lower than it should be. It's very difficult to say we're going to pay you more when we don't have it in the county. It's a very difficult question. We sit down with our sheriffs all the time, and we have dealt with different issues there where we say we don't have the money for an increase, but we're working to get that to happen. When we have environmental groups that come in and shut down business and stop business, that stops our economic base, and we're not able to give the raises that we feel are necessary. So it all works together. We need investment from outsiders. We need people that invest in our county from the farming industry to lithium industry to import-export business like at Gateway. We need all of them to help our economy build so that we can pay our sheriffs what they're worth and build that base pay up to help our firefighters and to have the machinery that we need. When an investor comes into our county, we can ask them, hey, would you support 2 or 3 police cars? Would you support a fire engine? Would you help us support by investing in our county? Could you also help with wages and things like that? So there's ways to do it, but we have to understand that our economy isn't as strong as it could be.
Me parecía muy importante aclarar este punto porque esa es otra de las promesas que se hacen muy a la ligera. En cuanto yo gane, voy a subir los sueldos de los sheriffs, de la policía, de los bomberos, cuando en realidad es muy buena intención, pero es un proceso. Otra vez, volvemos a lo mismo. Podemos hablar mucha desinformación y prometer muchas cosas, pero estamos tratando de llegar a la verdad. Hay una buena intención, pero es un plan que se tiene que llegar. Es un proceso. Claro que queremos que nuestra seguridad pública tenga mejores sueldos, mejores salarios, que puedan mantener una familia, que puedan tener hijos, pero no es tan fácil como decir, mañana gano, mañana le subo el salario a todos. ¿Cuáles son los proyectos de infraestructura más urgentes para el Valle Imperial? Escuché yo que lo más urgente ahorita era abrir carretera de Heber o el centro para cruzar a los outlets de Calexico, porque uno tiene que rodear todo hasta la César Chávez y a veces por el tráfico de los que están cruzando la garita nos puede tomar muchísimo, 1 hasta 2 horas para poder llegar al outlet. No sé, eso era lo que la gente comentaba, que era la infraestructura más urgente de arreglar esa carretera o abrir una viabilidad para poder llegar ahí, pero en su opinión, ¿cuál es la más urgente aquí en el Valle Imperial?
Well, obviously, when we deal with Mexico, we have many workers that come from Mexicali Valley and work in the county. When I got on the board, the first bridge that was opened was Dogwood Road Bridge. So when the workers returned home, it was very crowded on 111 when they came into Calexico. When we opened Dogwood Bridge, that was the second entrance to Mexicali, it took a lot of traffic off the streets. It helped a lot. Obviously, I'd like to see the new port of entry opened uh, earlier in the morning for people, for the farm workers that come to work. If they can get to work and they would open that the new border crossing at 4 o'clock in the morning, it would make a huge difference for the farm workers to get to work by 6 o'clock. And that would really relieve a lot of the farm workers' anxiety because many of them have to get up at 2 in the morning to get across the border in Calexico. So we're asking the Border Patrol and different ones, why can't they open the new port of entry, give them 2 ways to cross the border, help the people and the farm workers where they could get across earlier, they wouldn't have to sleep in their cars, and they could get home earlier in the evening, and all the things that help the families in Mexicali and the farm work community. So those are things that we're thinking of, new ideas, ways to get people back to home, back to work, and helping them with their families.
¿Qué cualidades de carácter considera esenciales para un líder público?
Well, first of all, when I became a Christian many years ago, I realized that values are important. And I realized that when you give your word for something, that you need to back that up. Not only that, I think values show you that you are a faithful man, a faithful woman, that you stay faithful to your wife, to your family, that you put your family values first before anything. And when you do that, that makes you the leader, in my opinion, that God asks us to be. So obviously, we've seen leaders that have fallen, and we've seen leaders that have been very stable. And that's what we need. We need people of character. As a Christian, I believe that God has called many to lead in ways that honors Him. We always want to obey the law. If you teach your kids, oh, you can skirt the law here, or you can go around this law, or you can lie a little bit, those are flaws in a young person's character. That's why leaders need to be men and women of their word. And when you say that you're going to do something, that you follow through with it. It means that you also follow those things that are values as far as for family life, that you're considerate of your family, that you're a strong family person, that you're faithful to your wives faithful to their husbands. And then you follow the code of ethics of a biblical background.
¿Cree que la forma en que una persona vive su vida privada refleja cómo gobernará en público?
Well, first of all, as I said, I've been a Christian for many years, and I feel that what you are in your personal life is what you are in your public life. If you're faithful to your wife, if you're faithful to the law of the land, if you don't agree with the law, you work to change it. In my opinion, you don't get up and just scream and yell about things you don't agree with. You work through the process. Obviously, I don't like the high taxes in California. I am working to change them. I'm not screaming and yelling. I'm paying my tax, but I'm working to change that and lower those taxes. I don't like the high gas prices in California, but I'm not screaming and yelling. I am saying, why don't we work in a way that we can lower those gas prices and gas taxes? And I think those are things that leaders need to do. And when you have character, that's what you work on.
Muy bien. Number 30. ¿Qué lo distingue de los otros candidatos?
Okay, what makes me a little different? I don't know the other candidates. I feel that they are sincere in what they do. I let my life speak for what it stands for. I've been married for 47 years. I have 5 kids and 17 grandkids. And so I'm sure they have grandkids and all of that. I don't feel that I'm better than anyone else. I feel that I'm faithful to what I know is true. I study the Bible every day, and that's where I think my distinction might be a little different. But I do not condemn any of the other candidates. I wish them well, and I just trust that my life will speak for itself.
Muy bien, pues ya vamos a entrar, ya estamos llegando al final del programa y vamos a entrar en una de las preguntas que más controversia y debate ha traído en las últimas semanas, en los últimos meses, y es el centro de datos. ¿Cuál es exactamente su posición respecto al data center o centro de datos?
Obviously, on a data center, we have to go back and look at zoning laws. So, when the developer came to Imperial, he tried to make a deal with Imperial and to build a data center within Imperial. When that didn't work, he found a place that in the county was approved for a data center in an industrial zone. So he moved it to the industrial zone, which resides in the county. And the county has zoning laws that say you're approved or not approved. And the data center was an approved use in the industrial center. That doesn't mean that we can just say, hey, we approve a data center. What the people that owned the property asked us to do is to do a lot merger. So we do lot mergers every day in the county, every week or so. They're not out of the ordinary. So the owners wanted to have a lot merger. So the county was obligated to follow their own rules under the California Annexation Map Act. And so we followed that rule, which said if they meet all the requirements, they can merge their lot. But from the outside county, from Imperial and maybe IID, they felt like we should stop the data center. We never voted on a data center. We voted on a lot merger. So you look at the process, do we follow our own rules or do we break our rules? And in my opinion, we keep our rules. So the data center, if we're not approving a data center. The data center was approved in 2017 under the rules of what was submitted back then. Also, the industrial zone was approved in 1974. So we can't just go back and change everything once they apply. Now, does that mean a data center will be there? Does that mean, that we don't know that? That's not our job to determine whether it goes there. Do we think it's a good location? I don't think it's a good location. But why would Imperial, the city of Imperial, choose to put housing development right next to industrial? So those are questions that have to go back a long ways. Back in 2000, Imperial voted to put their housing development there. And then they want to blame us for having an industrial zone. And remember, an industrial zone is meant for a safety. If you have railroads, if you have high pressure gas lines, if you have a tank farm with diesel, if you have an area that mixes chemicals and fertilizers, you want to keep that separate from families. You want to keep your kids away from an industrial zone. And then you have the airport and planes that fly in and out. You have all of these different things that should be put in an area to keep kids and protect families from them. When the city of Imperial voted to put families next to an industrial zone, that should have been stopped at that point. But so now Imperial blames the county for allowing a lot merger. And a lot merger is one step in a whole process of a data center. So did the county vote on a data center? Absolutely not. We didn't vote on that. We voted on a lot merger for any property owner to merge their lot or to do anything that they
Me
would like to do.
parecía esta pregunta muy importante porque es de la información más distorsionada que escucho allá afuera, que el Board of Supervisors o la mesa de supervisores aprobaron un data center. Digo, yo que he estado en los debates, he escuchado lo que usted está diciendo ahorita, pero luego salgo de ahí, pareciera que la gente no escucha, no entiende. Es importante entender, no es que ustedes aprobaron un data center, están siguiendo las leyes y regulaciones de donde está situado cuando se compró muchos años antes de que siquiera ustedes estuvieran aquí. ¿Es lo correcto? Entonces, vamos a pasar a la segunda pregunta. ¿Qué es un data center? Porque esa es otra de las cuestiones que la gente a veces no entendemos qué es. A mí me mandan videos diciendo que son zonas, fábricas industriales, que me mandan videos de que va a haber agua saliendo bien sucia de tu zinc, me mandan videos de que los niños, las escuelas alrededor, va a haber mucha contaminación, que van a tener problemas de asma, bueno, ¿qué es un data center si es que usted sabe qué es un data center?
Okay, so a data center processes a lot of information. You have many, many computers within a building that's contained. So it is processing. It's a number of computers that are just processing information. That information is sent to the owners, like it may be Google or Meta or something like that. So when you ask a question on your computer, how does it get answered? If you say, hey, how many mountains are in the United States? Boom, you ask a data center. And you ask someone, it goes to the data center and it spits out an answer. So a data center is just a number of computers that are working together to answer the hundreds and thousands of questions that people ask of it. Are there potential benefits? Yes, there would be jobs in building it. But again, we feel that it should be in a different location. It should not be next to a city. So for whatever the city did, they should be held responsible for that. My position would be a data center would be beneficial in another area like Lithium Valley or down at the Gateway, somewhere out of a city, somewhere where it has its own power. But they need power. They need gas to run their backup generators. Then they need infrastructure to that. They need broadband. So they need the community needs to understand that that though we're not for or against it, there are benefits and there are problems with it. Would it be better in another location? Yes, it would. Okay, but that area was zoned, so that was a question that's out of our hands. But so what we've done, Lupita, is we have looked at ways if a data center wants to apply. Here's what we're doing. We're looking at making rules for them before they ever come. We didn't have the rules when that data center was pretty much handed to us. We weren't sitting there looking at and entertaining data centers. But what we would like to do is eliminate the by right position. We would like to make sure that a data center is not by a school or a public assembly area. We would like to know that pre-construction infrastructure is made before they ever begin. We would like to know and make rules that the utility costs would not make the homeowners around a data center or in that vicinity go up. We would like to know that all those things are taken care of. There should be a microgrid. It should all be integrated. It should be on site. There should be long duration storage. There should be perceived sound caps. In other words, you know that the sounds around it are all perceived and they're all monitored. You make sure that there are no emissions from it, noise studies, all of the things that go with it. We want to know that before they come and then they apply for the process, whether it involves CEQA or not, or if it's a CEQA-free area, so a by right area. So there are a number of things that we want to make sure that won't happen before it gets here, and that they go through a process and say, okay, we qualify or we don't qualify. But this is a good location, that's a good or a bad location.
Pues muchas gracias. Vamos a terminar con la número 36.
Okay.
¿Qué le diría a las familias del Valle Imperial?
I would just like to say that I believe in the families. God has, the first institution that God ever gave us was the family. The second institution that he gave us was the church. So when you look at families, you look at God's plan and design for man. It wasn't good for man to be alone, so he gave him a wife. And man has been pretty happy ever since, except when the wife tells him too many things to do. When she gives him a list, then he's a little bit more sad. But overall, he's very happy to have a wife. And of course, procreation is important, that families and children are the natural result of a loving relationship between a man and a woman. And I just believe that families are God's design. Church is a design also for families to come together and to learn about the things of God. And so I'm saying that we need to have a biblical approach. And then I think communities can thrive, they can grow. We have the blessing of God in our communities.
Muy bien. Y
Thank
para las personas que aún están pensando si deberían de votar o no, ¿qué les diría John Hawk?
I would tell them that each of us have a responsibility. And obviously, I feel that, I'm not a perfect man, don't claim to be, but I have been happily married for my the last 47 years. And I feel that if you're looking for integrity and a biblical approach to life, following the tenets that God gave us, I would say look for candidates that have a biblical background. And I would say not just me, but candidates all up and down the roster. You want candidates that to do what they say. They have a lifestyle that follows what they say, and they follow the blessings that God has given them.
Pues muchas gracias. Y recuerden, todos tenemos una responsabilidad y mañana tenemos esa oportunidad de ejercer nuestra responsabilidad y nuestro derecho. Mañana es el último día para poder ir a votar, así que salgan, infórmense. Si tienen alguna pregunta, pueden llamarnos, mandarnos mensajes. Y recuerden que aquí en KGBA tenemos una lista de sugerencias para que ustedes puedan votar con convicciones y con principios. Así que infórmense, vayan a votar y nos vemos en nuestro siguiente episodio. Infórmate, Familias del Valle Imperial. Dios les bendiga.